This is John. He makes $75,000 a year, which is roughly $10,000 more than the average American worker in 2026. He has $8,000 in savings and $4,500 in student loan debt. John wants to buy a new SUV. Specifically, he is looking at a mid-size crossover with a sticker price of $49,000, which is almost exactly the average price of a new car today. The dealership told her that with her credit score, they can get her a monthly payment of $780. John thinks he can afford it. In reality, John is about to make a decision that will cost her over $120,000 in lost wealth over the next decade. I am Professor Wealth, and I'm going to show you the real math of what you can actually afford in 2026, why the $1,000 monthly payment has become a financial trap for 20% of Americans, and the exact formula to ensure your car doesn't bankrupt your future. Let's start with the current state of the market. As of early 2026, the average new car transaction price has crossed the $50,000 threshold for the first time in history. Interest rates for new car loans are averaging 6.8%, while used car loans are sitting at a staggering 11.5%. But the real killer isn't just the sticker price. It is the total cost of ownership. Car insurance premiums have spiked nearly 20% over the last 2 years, with the average driver now paying over $2,100 a year just for full coverage. When you add in fuel and maintenance, the math changes completely. To see if John can actually afford this $49,000 SUV, we use the 20th of April 10 rule. This is the gold standard of car buying, but in 2026, it has become almost impossible for the average person to follow. The rule is simple. Put 20% down, finance for no more than 4 years, and keep your total transportation costs, payment, insurance, and gas, under 10% of your gross monthly income. For John's $49,000 SUV, the 20% down payment is $9,800. John only has $8,000 total. If he uses all of it, he has $0 left for emergencies. That is red flag number 1. Next, the 4-year loan. At a 6.8% interest rate, John's monthly payment would be $930. Add in $180 for insurance and $150 for gas, and John is spending $1,260 a month on a car. That is 20% of her gross income, double the recommended limit. John isn't buying a car. He is buying a lifestyle he hasn't earned yet. This leads us to the first step of the real math. The first step is the 10% rule. For John, making $75,000 a year, her gross monthly income is $6,250. Following the real math, her total transportation cost, that is payment, insurance, gas, and maintenance, should not exceed $625. The $780 payment the dealer offered her, that is already $155 over her entire limit before he even turns the key. When you add the 2026 national average for full coverage insurance, now roughly $180 a month, and the $150 he will spend on fuel, her actual monthly burn is $1,110. On John's salary, that is nearly 18% of her gross income and roughly 25% of her take-home pay. In the 2026 market, John is not alone. New data from Edmunds shows that the average monthly payment for a new vehicle has hit a record high of $773. Even more alarming, 20% of all new car buyers are now committing to monthly payments of $1,000 or more. To make these massive numbers fit into a monthly budget, a record 23% of borrowers are signing 84-month or longer loans. They are stretching their debt out over 7 years just to drive a car that will be out of warranty in 3. This brings us to the silent wealth killer, depreciation. According to latest 2026 studies from American Automobile Association and IC Cars, the average new vehicle loses about $4,334 in value every single year. That is $361 a month John is losing simply by the car existing in her driveway. While he is paying the bank $780, the car is effectively charging her another $361 in lost value. But the real math, the kind that builds or breaks wealth, is the opportunity cost. If John buys this SUV, he is locking $1,110 into a tanking asset every month. If he instead buys a reliable used sedan for $22,000 and keeps her total costs at $550 a month, He frees up $560. If he automates that $560 into the S&P 500 in 10 years, that single decision grows into over $100,000 in a brokerage account. In 2026, car ownership has become the primary reason the middle class stays middle class. To break that cycle, we have to look at the specific salary brackets. Let's start with the $50,000 salary. If you earn $50,000 a year in 2026, your gross monthly income is $4,166. Using the strict 10% rule, your entire car budget, payment, insurance, and gas is capped at $416. In today's market, that number is a reality check. The average used car listing price has climbed to $25,390. Even if you find a reliable used vehicle at that price, put 20% down and snag a 48-month loan at the current 7.45% average, your payment alone is roughly $490. You are over budget before you even account for insurance, which in 2026 averages $208 a month. The reality for the $50,000 earner is that you cannot afford the average used car, let alone a new one. Your options are limited. You either buy a 10-year-old vehicle in cash or look at the few budget winners of 2026, like the Kia K4 or Nissan Sentra, which still start around $22,000. But even then, the math only works if you put down closer to 40% to suppress that monthly payment. At this income level, a car is a utility, not a status symbol. Now, let's move to the six-figure earners. If you make $100,000, you likely feel like you've made it. Lenders certainly think so. In 2026, a dealership will happily approve you for a $70,000 luxury SUV. They'll see your $8,333 monthly gross and tell you a $1,200 payment is comfortable. But let's run the Professor Wealth math. Your 10% limit is $833, all in. If you take that $1,200 payment, add $250 for luxury tier insurance, and $200 for fuel, you are burning $1,650 a month. You are spending nearly 20% of your gross income on an asset that is guaranteed to lose value. And don't count on federal EV credits to bridge the gap anymore. The era of the $7,500 point-of-sale rebate ended in September 2025. In 2026, the incentive structure has flipped. Under the latest legislation, the government now offers a $10,000 annual deduction for auto loan interest on qualified, American-assembled EVs. While this helps at tax time, it doesn't lower your monthly cash outlay at the dealership. It's a strategic deduction, not a discount. This leads us to the most dangerous bracket of all, the $150,000 rich-poor trap. If you make $150,000 a year, your gross monthly income is $12,500. On paper, you are in the top 11% of earners. The dealer looks at your pay stub and sees a green light for an $85,000 luxury SUV or a top trim electric truck. But the real math says something very different. Your 10% transportation limit is $1,250 a month. If you put 20% down and finance the rest at 2026's average interest rates over a 48-month term, the maximum car price you can actually afford is roughly $38,000. Most people at this income level ignore this. They look at a $1,200 monthly payment and think, I make $150K, I can handle this. But they aren't accounting for the high-end maintenance of a premium vehicle, which now averages over $1,300 a year for brands like BMW or Audi, or the insurance premiums that have spiked nearly 50% over the last few years. By the time they add up the total burn, they are spending $2,000 a month on a single vehicle. That is $24,000 a year that isn't going into their brokerage account. This is why we are seeing a K-shaped auto crisis in 2026. While high earners are propping up the luxury market, the underlying math is breaking. Subprime auto delinquency hit a 32-year record of 6.9% this year, and as of early 2026, nearly 31% of all vehicle trade-ins carry negative equity. The average person trading in a car right now is over $7,000 underwater. They are rolling that old debt into new 84-month loans, effectively paying for two cars while only driving one. So here's the final rule to protect your future. Your monthly investments must always exceed your monthly car payment. If you pay $800 for a car but only invest $400 in the S&P 500, you are getting poorer every month no matter how high your salary is. A car is a tool to get you to work. It shouldn't be the reason you have to keep working until you're 80. If this breakdown changed how you look at that sticker price, do me a favor and drop the word wealth in the comments. I read them all and will like as many as I can. Subscribe for more deep dives into the real math of your money.